Alright everybody, stay tuned for a brief update on the Bf-108 project where we're going to talk about the completion of the left wing, the start of the reconstruction of the right wing, and also the horizontal stabilizer and the damaged left slat. So stick around and check out the video. Alright everybody, Paul Stetsowitz here with Weeks Aircraft doing a Mechanics Corner update on the Bf-108. And the past few months we've been able to stay, pretty hard to stay on the project, and because of that we have a great announcement. We have finished the left wing, and the left wing is still in its fixture, but it is complete. All the work inside, all the riveting has been done. I think last time you saw it, the whole top side wing had been riveted, and now we've finished all the bottom riveting. This was a little bit slower than the top because, of course, doing the top skins you have a lot more access to bucking rivets, where on this case, shooting the bottom skins, you had to do a lot of reaching around. Even though there's good access on the 108 and the way they constructed it, there were a few rivets that were quite a challenge. Me and Eric had some interesting times. There was about a dozen rivets that were really tough to get to, but we finished all that up. You can see it's all nice and pretty and ready to come out of the fixture. Landing lights stuck on there just to kind of see what that looks like. We got that in the correct position because the original damaged piece had the landing light kind of pointing the wrong direction, so now it's correct. And we have one of the inspection panels on, which is painted actually the color of the airplane. The airplane is going to be an 05 cream. We are probably going to stick with the Willie Messerschmitt aircraft that he had. He had two personal airplanes, and we're going to probably go with that 05 cream, so we can put that panel there. You can kind of get an idea to see what the color is going to look like. Only things remaining on the wing structurally are the installation of the outboard wingtip rib, and that is this piece right here. It's been cleaned up, it's ready to go, and we can't actually install this yet because the fixture is in the way of installing this. So once the wing comes out, I'll be able to put that in here. It's not going to take very long to do that because it has a few rivets that attach that piece. And so that's the last structural thing that has to be done to the wing. And then once the wing is out and on some sawhorses, I can actually start assembling some of the wing locking mechanism that goes on the inboard section of the wing. There's an elaborate system of fittings and rods and everything that actually installs the wing to the fuselage and locks it in place. So that stuff can start going inside of there too. So I'm pretty excited about that. And next thing we're going to do, once this comes out of the fixture, of course we're going to put the right wing and start working on that. So let's go take a look at the right wing. All right everybody, here we are at the right wing. And the right wing, of course, is going to go through the same process of the left wing, but this is going to go a little bit quicker, mainly for two reasons. One, of course, we have the experience of the left wing. We know what we're doing now. We know the kind of the pitfalls and some of the things that kind of slow you down. So we kind of learned, got the learning process down there. The other reason is the right wing doesn't have near the problem that the left wing has. The only real damage it has was the skin damage on the top skin over here, which also involved the rib inside, which actually broke the rib. And this is, I think we mentioned in one of the earlier videos, this is where they did the structural Bondo repair to the wing, where they just bonded right over it. No repair, nothing, just Bondo. And so that was pulled out. Rick has made a new part. It's all ready to go. We made that several months ago. And then, of course, the skin will be replaced when we take the rest of it apart. We do feel that we're going to be able to use more of the original skins on this wing. On the left wing, we're only able to use two of the original skins, but on this, I believe we're going to use both trailing edge curved skins, which are really involved to make. So those are in good shape. We're going to reuse those. We're probably going to reuse also the inboard top and bottom skins, which look also very nice. So this is going to go much quicker, and so it should take probably, I would think, probably maybe only 60% of the time that the left wing took. So we're excited about that. We're going to get this in the fixture actually in the next few days when we start drilling this wing apart. So next time we do an update, you'll probably see this wing completely in a bunch of pieces, and all those pieces, of course, will go through prep and paint and prime, and then we'll start making new skins and start going back together with it. So let's go check out the horizontal stabilizer and the left slat, which also has some damage that we're going to talk about. Alright, here we are with the horizontal stabilizer to the 108 project, and we were kind of debating whether or not to take the stabilizer apart, but after looking at it a little bit closer, we actually decided for 3 reasons why to disassemble this assembly. The first was there is some skin damage underneath the horizontal stabilizer. Nothing major, but there's some dents and stuff underneath the stabilizer. Probably got damaged, things being kicked up from the runway and stuff. And so there's probably one of those skins that probably is going to have to be replaced. The other 3 skins actually probably going to be reusable. Another reason we decided to take it apart is when you picked up the stabilizer and you moved it around, you could hear things floating around inside of it. We're like, well, I'm not sure what that's worth. It's like, well, we probably need to check that out. Another reason also, just plain clean out. This is a really hard part to strip the paint off. It has a really deep section here where the elevator sits, and you couldn't really get in there and clean it out very well. And so taking it apart is going to give us access to that. Of course, then the last reason being there's a fairing that actually meets up with the vertical fin here, and the fairing is held on, the book says, with 5mm screws. Well, somebody came along at some point, they must have had an issue with that. The screws must have got stripped out, and they bored out those nut plates and they tapped them to 6mm, which is a really, really big screw to hold the fairing on. And so the only way to replace those nut plates is to take the skin off and drill it and replace it. So we're going to do all that work. Now the construction is very interesting on the horizontal stabilizer. Again, being a German aircraft, it's just very clever how they came up with these things. And the stabilizer is actually built as 2 separate components, the top and the bottom half. And this is actually one of the skins we've actually taken off, and you can see the skin was actually produced. There's a series of ribs that were actually riveted on here, and each one of the skins had a spar section riveted to it and these enforcement pieces. And once all those were done, these actually can be riveted and shot together off the assembly. And then once all those were put on, the 2 halves were just brought together, riveted along the back side, riveted along the front, which is really easy access, very clever. And then people look at it and go, well, it doesn't have a leading edge. Well, they thought of that too. Leading edge is actually a cast magnesium piece, and hopefully this does not break, because this would be very expensive to have reproduced. And this cap piece just screws on. It has like 4 or 5 screws, I believe, that holds on, and that forms the leading edge of the horizontal stabilizer. So very, very clever how they did this. Ease of construction, very quick to build something like this, as opposed to building something that's closed up where you have to reach in and try to buck the rivets. None of that has to take place on the construction of this. It was very easy, very well thought out. The Bf-109 is the same way, except it's a much beefier structure than the 108. And also the vertical fin to the 108 is the same type of construction as the vertical fin, which is a tiny little thing. It doesn't weigh anything either. And it's the same type of construction. 2 halves, left and right side, that are riveted down the back side. It has a leading edge piece made of magnesium that forms the leading edge. So that'll come off, take the rivets off, split the piece. We're going to have to open this up just to clean it out and do a proper clean out and replace any kind of corrosion that we see inside of it. But and then it's capped off with a little magnesium fairing right here. So again, Germans being very clever in the way they construct these pieces, and it makes it actually very easy to rebuild it nowadays. We had some people ask questions about why there's some magnesium parts in the 108, and there's quite a few components in the airplane that are magnesium. The main reason for this in this particular airplane is just lightweight. Magnesium is quite a bit lighter than aluminum, and their whole process with the 108, they were trying to get this airplane as light as possible. Remember, the engine is only 240 horsepower, and so they wanted a very light structure. And if you can believe it, the empty weight of the 108 is only 1,900 pounds, which is pretty amazing for the size of the airplane. and the top speed is 188 miles an hour. So that's going pretty good. And that is the main reason why there is magnesium in this structure. And then some people have asked about the dangers of it. Magnesium does burn at a pretty good rate. I don't think it's really an issue if this airplane gets into an accident and catches on fire. Is that going to make it burn faster? Probably, but at that point, does it really matter? I mean, if the airplane's crashing, it's on fire, that's the least of your worries. But yeah, magnesium does have a burning factor higher than aluminum, but I don't think the Germans really were considering that. It was more basically for weight saving. So that's basically why there's a lot of magnesium in the design of this airplane. Initially, we weren't going to do this in a fixture, but we thought maybe as this thing comes apart and goes back together again, we probably need to check it for if this has any kind of twist or anything in it. So we went ahead and made it's not really a fixture so much, it's more of a go, no-go gauge to make sure that when it's all completed, it fits in here and everything is straight, because we can't actually construct it in this fixture. The fixture here is basically just to check for alignment. So Dave made that piece for us. We started drilling this apart. The rest of it still has to come apart, and all these internal parts have to be cleaned and stripped and gone through the process. But making some good progress on that. Last thing we're going to talk about is the damaged left slat. All right, everybody, last thing we're going to talk about is the left slat for the 108. We had mentioned in previous episodes that the left slat was damaged in the accident, whatever the mysterious accident was, we're not quite sure. And we had actually taken this and put it in a fixture. Dave had welded up a nice little fixture for us so we keep everything straight and aligned as we take it apart. Since then, I've drilled it apart and opened it up because I wanted to see kind of what's involved with the construction of this piece. First thing is we can actually see the repair that they made, which again, I mentioned this earlier, it's actually pretty clever how they did this. This whole section right here must have had a pretty good sized dent in it. And they came in here and they just basically just cut that section out. They bent up a new piece. They riveted it across here. They welded it. And I'm not even sure that they did that because this is some hard material, but somehow they were able to weld across that leading edge piece. And just wrapped it back around again, put a little reinforcement in there for the repair. They closed it back up again, put the ribs back in. And it continued flying that way, and it functioned just fine. But of course, we're not going to go back that way. We have to rebuild this piece. We actually looked into trying to find some new pieces, but slats don't seem to be out there. Slats and flaps seem to be hard to get items for the 108, so it'd be nice to find some other pieces, and we keep looking all the time. But in the meantime, we're going to see if we can reconstruct this component. And it's interesting how they did this. Again, also very clever. This is actually one of the internal ribs to the slat, and they did this very interesting. Instead of trying to make a conventional rib that would have two legs going in the same direction, they kind of did what you want to call like a little joggle rib. And they did this for a reason, because they were able to, once they bent the skin up, they were able to place this rib inside, and they were able to go in and reach inside and buck one side of the rivet to that flange. And then once they closed it back up again, they actually put holes on the inboard side of the flap here, and those holes gave you access to buck the rivets along this side. And so again, ease of construction, ease of repair. It's very, very clever how they did this whole thing. What's going to be tough about this is making the skin. The ribs are all in good shape. We only had one rib that we took out that's going to have to be remade. Somebody had, this probably was damaged in the accident, and they kind of straightened it out and cut a piece out of it and put a reinforcement. So I'm probably going to remake that. All the other pieces are cleaned up and painted already. They're sitting on the table waiting for the skin. But the skin is going to be a little tough. It's long. It's almost 9 feet. And I think the way this was done originally was they rolled the two sides, and of course they're opposite rolls. You got to roll here, and then you got a roll coming around this side. And once those two rolls are completed, this has to go into like a press brake, which is a way to bend metal. And the press brake allows you to bend straight down instead of putting it into a brake where you have to clamp it in place. And so that's probably what we're going to have to do to make this. We're going to have to flatten this skin out to get the whole location. And then it's also going to be kind of interesting to do the roll, because it is kind of a tapered roll. It's smaller on one end than the other. So this is going to take a little bit of practice. There's probably going to be a sheet of aluminum that's going to end up in a scrap heap, just practicing the roll and practicing the bends, because this is a little tricky to make this piece. Now, hopefully this goes well. We're probably going to go ahead and do the right slat. The right slat doesn't really need to be rebuilt. It has some minor flaws and blemishes on the outside. It's got a few dents, but if we can accomplish this and it goes not too badly, we'll probably just go ahead and build the right slat over again too, just to make it match the other side. So that's basically it. Also, we're building up some components to go into the finished left wing. The slats work on a series of little bearings and swivel arms. These are pieces are all finished. New bumper on there. We talked about the rubber bumpers we had made in one of the earlier episodes. These pieces are all going back together again. These will be installed into the left wing once that wing is finished. And this is what the slats attach to make them operate. So, making steady progress. Hopefully we can stay on the project here the next few months. We've got Christmas holiday coming up here, so we have a lot of people in and out. I'm out for a good part of December. So hopefully after that in January comes along, we're going to hit the right wing hard, make some good progress on that. Also continue with the progress on the horizontal and the slat, and just continue on the project. And hopefully when we do another update here, you'll see more progress on the 108. So everybody, thanks for watching. Keep coming back with the nice comments and the questions, and have a nice holiday.